now speak to the Shadow Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Alex Burghart, about, what's going on at the moment, and particularly about what's going on the front page of the Daily Mail. I was going to hold that up, actually, just in case. Oh, sorry, with an extra blue thing at the thing there. Email damns Starmer's top aide in £740,000 donations round. This is continuing on. I think this first came out, well, it was a while ago, wasn't it? And then it suddenly reared its ugly head a couple of days ago. Hello?
Yes, that's right. Thanks ever so much for having me on. So what seems to have happened? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
So what seems to have happened is that Morgan McSweeney, who's the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, when he was running the Labour campaign group Labour Together, deliberately withheld information about donations that were made to his campaign body. And this is very serious, because Labour Together was the outfit that got Keir Starmer elected as Labour leader. It's the outfit that, sort of set him on the path to being Prime Minister. And it appears that the man who's now his Chief of Staff broke the law by deliberately keeping information about donors out of the public eye. We've got new information over the past 48 hours which has exposed this. We've published it online. Your viewers can see it on our website, the McSweeney Files. And we've written to the Electoral Commission and the parliamentary authorities to ask them to investigate, because it once again, it calls into question the judgment and integrity of the people right at the centre of the Labour project, only a few days after the whole Peter Mandelson, Jeffrey Epstein scandal.
I mean, it does seem to be a bit of a witch hunt by the Conservative Party. You've been very, very strong in your criticism, understandably so. I mean, Labour are not covering themselves in glory by any stretch. But, I mean, the Conservatives weren't great at avoiding scandal either, were they?
Oh, look, we got kicked out of power, and we got a new generation running the party now. But when Keir Starmer became Prime Minister, he promised everybody, promised everyone in the country, that he was going to run his government with the highest level of integrity and honesty. And I'm afraid everything that we've seen since then, from Lord Ali to Peter Mandelson to this, suggests that that was a total lie.
So do you think Starmer has to go?
I think that it's getting closer and closer to the Prime Minister himself, isn't it? That over Mandelson, ultimately he was the guy who signed it off. On this, he was supported by an organisation that appears to have broken the law. It's just getting closer and closer to the Prime Minister himself, and you can hear all the fractures opening up within the Labour Party now. Labour MPs openly calling for him to go, saying that this can't go on. It feels like the whole Starmer project is starting to crumble.
Can we talk to you about, just very briefly, about the Liberal Democrat conference, which has barely made a dent on the newspapers, at any stage in the last few days, and how the Liberal Democrats, and actually, to be fair, all the parties, just obsessed with Nigel Farage?
Yeah, and I'm afraid I haven't followed the Liberal Democrat conference very closely. I think Ed Davey sort of gets involved in all of these publicity stunts to try and get himself publicity. I'm not very interested in getting Ed Davey publicity.
OK, just finally, can we ask you a few questions about what Donald Trump has said about the United Kingdom, in particular London?
Yeah, sure.
He says that, basically, end open borders, stop importing criminals, defend your sovereignty, fight Islamist extremism, stand up for Christianity. Lots of those comments resonating with many of our viewers and listeners now. But under the Conservative watch, many of these things started. I mean, the migrants in hotels, for example. You've got a lot to answer for as a party.
Look, there are a lot of long-running problems, but the Conservative Party now has set out the most detailed plans of any political party about how we solve these problems. And there was a lot of interesting stuff in what the President said yesterday. I was particularly interested in what he was saying about Ukraine, about what he was saying about how he thinks that Ukraine can fight back against the Russian invasion, but also that the Europeans have to play their part and stop buying Russian oil and gas, which I think is absolutely right. About a fifth of the gas that goes into Europe at the moment is still coming from Russia. If the president is saying that the Americans will do more to support Ukraine if the Europeans play a bigger role, I think that they need to step up and do that. So a lot of interesting stuff in what the president was saying, a lot of things that the Conservative Party would agree with.
OK, Alex, thank you very much for joining us. That's Shadow Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, Alex Burghart.
Thanks very much.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private internet access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private internet access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Olivia Utley, political correspondent, is here. Where would you like to start?
Well, I think Trump is probably the best starting point, because this address that he made yesterday, 52 minutes, it was supposed to be 15, and it was a very kind of coherent attack on the UK and the West. We've often heard Trump sort of firing at the hip about the UK and the West, but this was targeted, and what he was particularly interested in, and what he was particularly angry about, is what he called the twin-tailed monster of energy and immigration. And I think that is something which will resonate with quite a lot of UK voters. This idea that Britain is just not matching its energy needs, making itself more and more reliant on hostile powers, particularly in the wake of this sort of AI revolution which is coming, which will need lots and lots of energy. These data centres need to be run on something. And Donald Trump is very, very interested in that, very, very worried about it. And then, of course, he attacks Sadiq Khan, the mayor. This was a completely different Trump to the Trump we saw last week at the state visit cozying up to Keir Starmer. And it puts the Prime Minister in quite a tricky position. How is he going to respond to this?
Actually, that is a good point. If he responds at all. I mean, actually, when, the point is that what you're saying about resonating, and particularly resonating with viewers of GB News, is, for example, this carbon neutral, this obsession with carbon neutral about, there's this feeling that loads and loads of beautiful, beautiful land is going to be covered with solar panels, or, of course, the reason why Donald Trump gets involved is because he can see the windmills from his golf course and all that sort of thing, and people don't like those. And it is about why would we not just carry on using the oil that we have, etc.
And in Westminster, there are lots of rumours that Keir Starmer attempted to sack Ed Miliband, who is the sort of the champion of net zero from within the government, the energy secretary, at the last reshuffle. But for whatever reason, he wasn't able to do so, presumably because Ed Miliband dug his heels in, which says something itself about Keir Starmer's power, or lack of it, within his own party. Really extraordinary situation, given that Keir Starmer won a majority nearly as big as Tony Blair's landslide in 1997, just a year ago. He doesn't have the power to sack members of his own cabinet. And I think what's really interesting is that we've got the Labour Party conference coming up in just over a week's time. What will Keir Starmer, how will he play this Donald Trump card? Because he was so friendly with the president last week, but there are so many MPs from within his own party who don't like Donald Trump, who really hate Donald Trump and don't like Keir Starmer cozying up to him. When the two were on the same page last week, it was all sort of OK. But now the president has been criticising the UK so explicitly in this very, very long speech yesterday. Labour MPs are going to be telling Starmer, come on, your turn, have a go, and will he do it?
Go back.
It is a very awkward situation for him. Alex Burghart just now was saying that Starmer's time is definitely up. This latest scandal on the front page of the Mail today with Morgan McSweeney is really the final straw. Do you think that will be the feeling of many people at the conference?
Well, I think what's worrying Labour MPs is, firstly, it's not a great look to get rid of your leader, and it doesn't serve the Conservatives particularly well.
When they've only been there for a year.
Exactly, just over a year.
And it's quite difficult to get rid of a Labour leader unlike the Conservative Party who can just kick them out when they feel like it.
And there's also a bit of a question about who would step into his shoes. There's lots of talk about Andy Burnham. He is definitely on manoeuvres. He's set up a think tank, which is very much Westminster code for I want to run as leader. He's got Lucy Powell, who could be the next deputy leader of the party, behind him. Those two are kind of in cahoots. But there are a few problems with Andy Burnham's run for the leadership, one of which is that he doesn't actually have a seat in Parliament.
Not an MP.
He's not an MP. He said that he will keep his position as Manchester mayor until his term comes to an end in 2028. Of course, he could renege on that promise. Might not look very good to the people of Manchester. But also, would he be able to win a seat? Normally, what you do in that situation is just parachute someone like Burnham into a safe seat.
Yeah.
Is there a safe seat for Labour in the country anymore? I'm not sure that there is.
I think the other story I wanted to talk to you about is running on the GB News website, which Starmer to turn the Union Jack into a symbol of inclusion to reclaim the flag. What does he mean by that?
Well, I think he stole that idea from Ed Davey. They were all waving their Union Jacks, Union flags, I should say, at the Liberal Democrat conference over the weekend. I find it so interesting watching these Labour politicians trying to sort of tread this very, very thin tightrope between wanting to condemn some of those people who were at the march because they know that their voters and their members particularly really don't like the type of people who were at those marches waving those flags. But also, he can't be the Prime Minister who says, don't wave the Union flag. That would be a terrible look, and he would look so unpatriotic. So we had Yvette Cooper, the Foreign Secretary, a couple of months ago saying that she has Union Jacks all over her flat. I do not believe that for a second. And now Keir Starmer saying that he's going to reclaim it. Not quite sure what that means.
Oh, do you know what? Do you remember when Boris Johnson put all that very expensive wallpaper up?
The gold wallpaper,
The gold wallpaper. Maybe that's the solution, is that they actually just do wallpaper, just do Union... Union flags all over the place.
Well, I mean, Emily Thornberry would be first in line, wouldn't she? But it's interesting what you say, Olivia, sort of like, many Labour MPs not thinking what was going on at the Unite the Kingdom march was a good thing. With some of the people, they're the voters, by the way. They're the ones you should be interested in.
Well, exactly. And I think this is the problem which quite a lot of Labour MPs have. They're not that interested in getting new voters, people who might vote Labour in the future. They want to kind of double down and keep their base secure. But why Labour managed to win such a massive majority is because they managed to cobble together some sort of coalition. And Keir Starmer is very, very aware of that, which is why he's trying to do things like keep Trump on side while also criticising Donald Trump, criticise the flag wavers while championing the flag. He's trying really, really hard to keep this very fragile coalition together.
Olivia, the big question is, have you got one of the little Lego figures of Nigel Farage from the Liberal Democrat conference?
Well, no, I don't have one of those little Lego figures. Dawn looks like I'm missing out. I'm not desperate for one. No, I was supposed to be at the Liberal Democrat conference, but the rota was jigged around a little bit, and I can't say I'm too sorry.
For Ed Davey to say, no, Nigel Farage is a dangerous man. He's going to turn the UK into some sort of Trump bill, as you like, but I'm not obsessed with him. Here, have a Lego figure.
And 31 mentions of Nigel Farage during his conference speech. I mean, I think Nigel Farage will be very, very happy about that. It is very much making Nigel Farage look like the person to beat at the next general election when every other party leader talks about him.
Olivia